The tarantulas down there that I just bought!
When 30-year-old aspiring Republican lawmaker Marissa Simonetti got sick of her roommate, 30-year-old attorney Jackie Vasquez, in June of 2024, she threw her pet tarantula at the woman in an effort to get her to move out. Simonetti claimed that Vasquez was squatting at her home in Hennepin County, Minnesota, while Vasquez insisted she had paid for her stay fair and square through Airbnb. In a bizarre video, Simonetti could be seen banging pots and pans together, yelling and freeing the giant spider in Vasquez's direction while blaring Christian music in the background. She was charged with misdemeanor assault and Vasquez moved out. Simonetti told local station KMSP that there was an element of humor to the stunt. Describing herself as a silly goose, she indicated she had no choice but to resort to obnoxious extremes in order to get Vasquez to leave her home. She accused her ex-roommate of complaining constantly about a spider infestation and refusing to leave when asked. At the time, Simonetti was a Republican candidate for Hennepin County Commissioners. Following her arrest, a spokesperson for Minnesota's 3rd Congressional District Republicans announced that the organization was no longer endorsing or recommending Simonetti, stating that she does not reflect our values and that she has only served to embarrass the Republican Party. In response to her endorsement loss, Simonetti said that she still plans to run for commissioner and accused the 3rd Congressional District Republicans of lacking the kahunas to back a candidate who is seeking real change. Number 8. Francisco Pachel. In 2021, Florida man Francisco Pachel was challenging Miami Mayor Francis Suarez for his position. The mayoral candidate had a dark past and a history of employment in law enforcement that ended acrimoniously. In 2000, he was suspended from the Miami Police Department after he was accused of helping cover up a beating that led to a prisoner's death. He wasn't charged in that regard, but his career at the department eventually came to an end. Pachel was also accused of illegally selling steroids and erectile dysfunction drugs while serving as a City Hall Sergeant-at-Arms in 2008. Prosecutors dropped felony charges in a plea deal that saw Pachel surrender his police certification. At the time of running against Suarez in 2021, Pachel was working as a private investigator for various elected officials. On May the 30th of that year, an off-duty Miami-Dade police officer was visiting a friend in Key Largo when he spotted Pachel sitting in his white BMW in a residential neighborhood. The officer confronted 59-year-old Pachel, who produced a gold badge and falsely identified himself as a Monroe County police officer. The interaction was captured on surveillance footage. In late September of 2021, Pachel was arrested on a felony charge of impersonating a police officer. The charges were later dropped, but in October of 2023, Pachel once again got in trouble with the law while in the midst of yet another political campaign. He was running for the Commissioner District 1 seat, representing the neighborhoods of Flagami, Alapata, and parts of Little Havana. It was in the former area that Pachel was involved in an argument with a man over rival campaign signs. Pachel had reportedly thrown out signs placed outside an apartment complex in the 3300 block of Northwest 17th Avenue. An argument ensued when the man who'd set them up confronted Pachel. The latter was recorded on video pulling a handgun out of his waistband, racking it, and holding it by his side. He threatened the other man, "I'll shoot you and nothing is going to happen to me because I used to be a police officer." The victim reportedly taunted Pachel by saying, "Kill me then," but the failed politician didn't shoot and put the gun away. The police were subsequently called and Pachel was arrested for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Number 7. Teral Patel. In June of 2024, a Texas political candidate for the position of Fort Bend County Commissioner Precinct 3 was arrested and faced charges of third-degree felony online impersonation and a Class A misdemeanor charge of misrepresentation of identity under the Texas Election Code. 30-year-old Teral Patel was the Democratic nominee for the position and was set to run against incumbent Republican Andy Myers in November. In the fall of the previous year, Patel sent out a press release claiming that he'd been the target of racist comments on social media. The authorities launched an investigation which revealed that it was Patel himself who'd made the comments through a fake Facebook profile he'd created in 2021. He'd used the profile to make it seem like he was the target of racist abuse in order to generate media attention. He'd also used the account to criticize Myers and Abraham Javid, a candidate in the Democratic primary who'd finished as the runner-up. Texas Rangers took Patel into custody and after executing a search warrant found evidence of the fake profile on his phone. Updates from July of 2024 indicated that Patel had also created a Facebook account impersonating Surendran Patel, the 240th District Court judge for Fort Bend County. He was not charged for the latest incident as prosecutors awaited more data after sending a request to Facebook for information about the fake account. Number 6. Solomon Pena. In 2022, Solomon Pena was the Republican nominee for the 14th District of the New Mexico House of Representatives, running against Democratic incumbent Miguel Garcia. Prior to the election, Pena's political adversary attempted to discredit him, primarily based on his extensive criminal history. In 2008, Pena was sentenced to 7 years in prison for stealing goods from at least 4 Albuquerque retail stores. While incarcerated, he was fired from his job as a prison cook for gouging at an inmate's eyes during a physical altercation. Garcia defeated Pena with 73.6% of the vote and a 3,600 vote difference, but the latter refused to concede, claiming the election had been rigged. In the aftermath, Pena embarked on a revenge campaign by orchestrating drive-by shootings at the homes of at least 4 Democratic politicians and actively participating in at least one of them. His accomplices were 2 brothers who weren't named, as well as father-son duo Demetrio and Jose Trujillo. The Trujillos had been among the largest donors to Pena's campaign. The shootings took place between December the 4th of 2022 and January the 3rd of 2023. The victims were Bernalillo County Commissioners Adrienne Barboa and Debbie O'Malley, as well as representative of New Mexico's 11th House District Javier Martinez and New Mexico Senator Linda Lopez. No injuries were reported in any of the incidents. The residences of the first 3 politicians were targeted in December, while the southwest Albuquerque home of Lopez was struck with gunfire in early January. A dozen bullet impacts were discovered in the latter shooting. 2 rounds entered Lopez's room and 3 others were fired into the bedroom of her young daughter. Pena's main objective was to instill fear in those he felt were responsible for his failed political campaign. However, a source with intimate knowledge of the hits noted that his appetite for violence increased. In the first incidents, Pena had instructed his gunmen to aim for the windows to avoid striking anyone, but then demanded they be more aggressive. Instead of hitting the homes when the victims were asleep, he requested they be targeted in the evening, reportedly sparking concern among the shooters that someone might actually be harmed. Pena personally pulled the trigger in the latest attack, but his AR-15 rifle reportedly jammed. Less than an hour after Senator Lopez's home had been shot up, 21-year-old Jose Trujillo was arrested during a traffic stop on an unrelated felony charge roughly 4 miles from the address. Shell casings from Lopez's house matched a gun in his possession. A search of the Nissan Maxima he was driving produced numerous firearms as well as 800 pills of fentanyl. The Maxima was owned by Pena. The latter was further connected to his shooters through messages informing them of the target's addresses and also the cash that he granted to them. Pena was arrested following a SWAT raid of his home. He was indicted on multiple charges that included federal charges of being a felon, in possession of a firearm, and 3 counts of solicitation to commit a crime of violence, as well as state-level charges that included attempted aggravated battery and shooting at an occupied building. In the winter of 2023, Demetrio and Jose Trujillo each pleaded guilty to conspiracy, interference with federally protected activities, using and carrying a firearm during and in relation to a crime of violence, and discharging said firearm. The younger Trujillo also admitted possession with intent to distribute fentanyl. Pena's trial was set to commence in the summer of 2024, while the Trujillo sentences hadn't been established as of the latest updates on the matter. Number 5. Zul Mirza Muhammad. A mayoral candidate in Carrollton, Texas, was arrested in the fall of 2020 and faced over 100 felony charges related to voter fraud. Local law enforcement launched an investigation in September of 2020 after someone had asked for absentee ballots to be sent to a post office box in Louisville. It belonged to a nursing home, but investigators soon learned that the person renting the box had no connection to the home and had used a fake driver's license and student ID. Undercover officers began working at the post office and detected a man picking up the requested ballots. In early October of 2020, he was identified as 39-year-old mayoral candidate Zul Mirza Muhammad. Law enforcement followed him to an address on Bennington Drive in Carrollton and then obtained a warrant to search the residence. They found several of the ballots open in a bedroom, as well as the fake documents Muhammad had used to rent the P.O. box. He was arrested, and if found guilty, faced hefty fines and up to 20 years in prison. Number 4. Andrew Will Hoit. When 41-year-old Indiana woman Elizabeth Will Hoit failed to show up for work on March the 25th of 2022, her colleagues reported her missing. The following day, her body was discovered dumped in a creek near her Lebanon home. An autopsy would reveal that she died from blunt force trauma to the head. Elizabeth had recently finished chemotherapy treatments for cancer. Roughly a week before she went missing, she'd filed for divorce from her husband, aspiring politician Andrew Will Hoit. When the police interviewed the 39-year-old regarding his wife's disappearance, he claimed they'd gotten into a pretty good fight while she was drunk. Following a search of their home, the police found traces of blood on bed sheets and a mattress in the master bedroom, as well as on a bathroom sink. Andrew initially feigned not knowing what had happened to Elizabeth and tried to explain the blood as him suffering a nosebleed. After the Indiana State Police took over the investigation, Andrew requested a lawyer and subsequently confessed to killing his wife. They'd gotten into a heated argument on March the 24th after Elizabeth discovered he was having an affair. She reportedly started hitting him, at which point Andrew threw her out the front door. Elizabeth then charged her husband, who picked up a heavy cement flower pot and hit her in the face with it. Andrew claimed that his wife was no longer moving or making any sounds after the strike. He placed her body in his truck and drove to a nearby creek to hide it. Andrew was charged with murder but pleaded not guilty. While incarcerated at Boone County Jail and awaiting trial, Andrew was one of 3 Republican candidates who advanced in a primary election for the Clinton Township Board. As reported by the Indy Star, it was legal in Indiana for people charged with a felony to run for local office, but they were ineligible if convicted. Andrew later withdrew from the race. He was ultimately found guilty of voluntary manslaughter, and on June the 4th of 2024, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Number 3. Kelly Collins. In 2018, Kelly Collins was in the midst of campaigning for Georgia's 10th congressional district seat. Collins' treasurer was her partner, 41-year-old Kurt Kane. The couple got married in late July of 2018, and around the same time, the Democratic candidate was also made the beneficiary of Kane's life insurance policy. About a week after they'd gotten married, on August the 4th, law enforcement was asked to perform a wellness check at Kane's home in the 3000 block of Old Powder House Road in Aiken, South Carolina. Officers found the man dead from blood loss after he'd been shot in the back. Bloody footprints were found throughout the room. After a further search of the crime scene, the police discovered a set of car keys in the washing machine, a gun holster in the kitchen sink, and blood in the bathroom sink. Kane's open wallet was at the scene, but his debit card was missing. His blue Subaru Legacy, a vehicle his wife had been seen driving a few days prior, was also gone. Collins became the primary suspect in the killing. She surrendered to the authorities in McDuffie County on August the 7th and was arrested for murder and grand larceny. Collins admitted to shooting Kane but claimed it was an accident. Her husband was either dead or dying when she cleaned herself up and drove away in his car. She changed vehicles in a Grovetown Walmart parking lot and began driving a Chevrolet Tahoe. Collins claimed that she threw the murder weapon into a pond off Interstate 20, but it was never recovered. The woman, who was at the time in her early 30s, withdrew from the race in the wake of her arrest. In August of 2019, she accepted a plea deed for voluntary manslaughter, which dismissed her grand larceny charge, and she was sentenced to 30 years behind bars. Today's topic was requested by Vince Hare 98, Adenaji Heavy Wind 4788, and D.A. Palomares. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Whitfield Leland, a wannabe mayor from Florida, was arrested in May of 2024 after robbing a Dollar General outlet in Tallahassee. While in a checkout line at the store, 44-year-old Whitfield Leland pulled a gun on a manager, ordering him to open the cash register. Leland then demanded that the manager grant him access to the safe, but was told that the safe was delayed and would not open right away. Upon being informed of that aspect, the suspect was reported to have said, "I should have remembered from the last time." As the robbery unfolded, a customer called 911 and officers made their way to the scene, surrounding the store. Realizing he was about to be caught, Leland stole the manager's shirt, which had Dollar General embroidery on it, and fled through an emergency exit. He made off with fistfuls of cash, leaving a trail of bills that led cops to his location in a nearby wooded area at the intersection of North Brunner and West Georgia Streets. The police initially believed that an employee had robbed the store before learning that the culprit was a former mayoral candidate. Leland was arrested on multiple charges, including robbery with a firearm, grand theft of a firearm, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and resisting an officer without violence. In 2022, Leland had run for Tallahassee mayor as a political unknown. He finished third in the August primary, obtaining slightly over 5% of the vote. At the time, Leland had an open case and a criminal record stretching back to 1998. Shortly after his unsuccessful campaign in October of 2022, he was sentenced to 2 months in jail for resisting arrest. The judge also sentenced Leland to 10 months on probation, ordered him to do 100 hours of community service, take anger management classes, and refrain from drinking alcohol. His legal troubles stemmed from an incident at a party at the Leon County Fairgrounds that took place in June of 2019. A drunk and belligerent Leland refused to obey officers' commands to leave the area. As captured on body cam footage, he struggled with the officers trying to take him into custody. Leland flailed about and struck one cop who was recorded walking away holding his mouth and saying, "He caught me in the lip." Once he was finally placed in the back of a patrol car, Leland allegedly tried to kick its window out. Number 1. Thomas Gilmer. A party-endorsed Republican candidate for Congress in Connecticut dropped out of the race just as voters were going to the polls for the primary election in August of 2020. On the 11th of the month, Thomas Gilmer was arrested for first-degree unlawful restraint and second-degree strangulation. The charges stemmed from Gilmer attacking a former girlfriend in May of 2017. A video of the altercation was provided to the police by his Republican opponent, Connecticut Army National Guard Lieutenant Colonel Justin Anderson. The clip showed Gilmer punching the unnamed victim in the face, knocking her to the ground, then mounting her and delivering further strikes. According to an arrest affidavit, the woman appeared to be struggling for life after Gilmer had placed her in a chokehold. Upon withdrawing from the race, the 29-year-old politician released a statement saying, "I cannot in good conscience move forward in this campaign while I am simultaneously forced to clear my name, and clear my name I will." It remained unclear if he did. Anderson went on to win the primary, but lost in the general election. The party of which both men were a part was criticized by the public after it emerged that its leaders had been aware of the video of the attack for months. Anderson had reportedly approached them with the clip, intending to resolve the matter privately. However, instead of investigating the attack, Republican leaders reportedly focused on doing damage control while moving forward with Gilmer as a candidate. Thanks for watching. Would you rather have money or power? Let us know in the comments section below.